Welcome. Today we're going to tackle a massive challenge, one that so many organizations face. How do you take a beautifully written policy off the page and make it actually work in the real world? We're going to explore a framework from Dr. Zainab Hafez that is designed to do just that, turn well-meaning words into measurable action. Let's dive in.
And this quote right here, it just gets straight to the heart of the matter. We all know that feeling of accomplishment when a new policy is finally signed and published, right? But what if that feeling is just an illusion? What if that document is just sitting on a digital shelf, not actually governing anything at all? You see, this leads us to something we can call the policy illusion. It's that really dangerous gap that can open up between the rules we write down and the results we actually get. It's such a common trap, and today we're going to learn exactly how to avoid it. And this right here is the core belief that fuels that whole illusion. It's the assumption that just by stating an intention, saying things like, "we will ensure quality," or "we will enhance compliance," is the same as building a system that actually guarantees it. But as we all know, intentions are not results.
So this is it. This is probably the most important question you can ask. Forget about the policy's wording for just a second and ask yourself, what is the actual tangible risk if this whole thing fails? What is the worst-case scenario? Asking this simple question completely shifts your focus from just checking a box to actually preventing a disaster.
So how do we bridge that gap? Well, Dr. Hafez provides a brilliant and honestly super practical four-step framework. And this isn't about adding more bureaucracy, not at all. It's about achieving crystal clarity on what really matters and, crucially, how to measure it. Okay, so let's walk through it. First, step one, you identify the core risk, that specific bad thing you're trying to prevent. Step two, you define the observable human behavior that leads to that risk. What do people actually do, or maybe what are they not doing? Then, step three, you translate that behavior into a number, a measurable indicator. And finally, step four, you link that indicator to a concrete evidence trail. Where's the proof?
Now, I know that might sound a little bit abstract, so let's make it completely real. We're going to use a really clear example from a critical field, laboratory quality assurance, a place where mistakes can have some very, very serious consequences.
Okay, now look at this. What's so powerful about this slide is how it takes us from something vague to something incredibly specific. The policy is just to ensure quality, but the core risk? That's a diagnostic error, the specific behavior we can see, a test validation deviation. The indicator becomes beautifully simple, the error rate per 1,000 tests. And the evidence? It's not a gut feeling. It's right there in the audit logs and the validation reports. You see how powerful that is?
And this example just perfectly illustrates the strategic shift that we all need to make. We have to move away from just stating our good intentions and kind of hoping people comply. Instead, we have to start engineering measurable systems that make compliance the most logical, the most visible path forward.
I mean, this quote from the United Nations just captures it perfectly. Real strength doesn't come from a vision statement on a wall. It comes from the robust, measurable, and verifiable systems you build to uphold that vision every single day. That's the real difference between a fragile institution and a resilient one.
So here's the best part. You can start applying this thinking right away. The very next time you look at a policy, just ask these three simple but incredibly powerful questions. What is the real risk we're trying to prevent here? What is the one thing I could measure to know if we're actually succeeding? And where would I find the undeniable evidence?
And that really leaves us with this final crucial thought. True governance isn't a document you write. It's an action you measure. It doesn't begin when the policy is signed. It begins the moment you decide how you're going to prove that it's working. That is when everything changes.